Today we're going to be talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. To start, let's briefly talk about what parallel and perpendicular lines are. So parallel lines are lines that never intersect. They have the same slope or the same incline, but they never ever touch each other. Because when they have the same incline or same slope and different y-intercepts, they'll be side by side forever and never crossing one another. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect at a 90-degree angle. So like the edge of your paper is a 90-degree angle. Their slopes have a product of 1, meaning when you multiply the two together, they'll equal -1. They're also called opposite reciprocals. Opposite meaning opposite signs, so one is positive, one is negative. Reciprocal meaning flipping the numerator and denominator, right? So the reciprocal of 1/2 would be 2/1. In this first example, it asks us to find if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. If they have the same slope, we know that they're going to be parallel. If they have opposite reciprocals, then we know that they will be perpendicular. If it's neither one of those, they're not parallel nor perpendicular. In this example A here, we can't look at this currently and know what the slope is. So we have to take each equation separately and solve for y to get it into slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Once we know that information, we can pull out the slope of each one and then compare. So this first equation here, equation 1, I'm going to solve for y. So I want to get y alone. I'm going to subtract the 2x from both sides, leaving me with 5y equals a -2x. This was a positive 1 plus 1. Lastly, dividing by 5, and I get y equals a -2/5, right? -2/5 x plus 1/5. So we see the slope here is -2/5. Now let's look at this second line. I'm starting with, let me move that over there, 4x plus 10y equals 3. Same thing, I'm going to get rid of the 4x by subtracting it from both sides. That leaves me with 10y equals a -4x plus 3. I'm going to throw this up here, divide by 10 on both sides to get y alone. So y equals a -4/10 x, that's a 4 here, plus 3/10. I'm going to simplify this, right? 4/10 has a common factor of 2. If I divide out 2, I'd get 2/5 x plus 3/10. This slope of this line is -2/5 as well. So when we see the two slopes are the exact same, so same sign, same numbers, the slopes are parallel, or the lines are parallel. They have the same slope, different y-intercepts. Let's look at this example B or C here. Same thing. I'm going to try to find the slope of each line. Now this example C is unique because this first equation doesn't have a y variable. It only has an x variable. So if I try to get x alone by adding 4 to both sides, I'd see x equals +7, meaning it's going to be a vertical line. Down here, I have no x variable, only a y. So if I divide both sides by 12, I get y equals 7/12. And a y equals a constant equation is going to be a horizontal line. It's going to cut through the y-axis. So the slope of this x equals 7 is undefined. And the slope of the y equals equation, the slope is 0. Now I can't multiply together undefined and 0 to compare them, but visually we can see if I have a vertical line and a horizontal line, these are actually going to be perpendicular. Why don't you try the next two examples down here and see what you can come up with. All right. Oops, didn't mean to zoom in there. Example B. First things first, I need to get it into the slope-intercept form so I can identify the slope. I'm going to subtract x from both sides. I have negative 4y equals negative x plus 3. I'm going to divide out that negative 4 from both sides of my equation, and I get a positive y equals negative divided by negative will end up positive 1/4. That 4 needs to stay in the denominator. X minus 3/4. The slope of this equation is positive 1/4. Let's look at the next one. 3x plus 12y equals 7. Same thing, I'm going to start by subtracting that 3x from both sides and bring it down here because I'm running out of room. I'll have 12y equals negative 3x plus 7, and then divide by 12, divide by 12. I'm going to simplify this, so I end up with y equals negative 3 divided by 12. They have a common factor of 3, so I divide out that 3, I get negative 1/4 x plus 7/12, and the slope here is negative 1/4. Notice the first slope was positive 1/4. The second slope was negative 1/4. They have the same value but opposite signs. It doesn't quite fit into either one of these scenarios. They're not exactly the same. They're opposite, but they're not reciprocals. So this one would be neither. It's not parallel nor perpendicular. And last one here. This one's nice because it's already solved for us. It's in the slope-intercept form. I just have to take out the coefficient to the x term. So the slope on the first line is 3. The slope on the second line is negative 1/3, right? Just looking at the x terms, since it's already solved for y. I notice that they have opposite signs. This is positive 3. This is negative 1/3. And they are also reciprocals, right? 3 is the same thing as 3/1. So when I switch the numerator and denominator, I get 1/3. So these are going to be perpendicular lines. So for A, they were parallel. B or C, they were perpendicular. B, they were neither. And D, perpendicular. One last thing here. This next example says consider the line 2x plus 3y equals 8. If line 1 is parallel, what is its slope? Well, to know what it would be, it has to be the exact same as this line. So we're going to solve this line for y, and it will be the exact same slope. So starting with 2x plus 3y equals 8. I subtract 2x from both sides. I get 3y equals a negative 2x plus 8. Divide by 3. And y equals a negative 2/3 x plus 8/3. The slope here is the coefficient to the x term, so negative 2/3. Hence, so if a line is parallel to this line, it will have the same slope. The slope will be negative 2/3. Part B says if the line is perpendicular, what is its slope? So same thing, it's the same line that we started with. We want to find a slope that would be perpendicular to this slope. So I need to take the opposite. This was a negative 2/3. My slope is going to be positive to be a perpendicular slope. This is 2/3. The reciprocal of that would be 3/2. Opposite reciprocals, opposite signs, reciprocal. Flip the numerator and denominator. Alright, that's the brief intro to parallel and perpendicular lines.